The day my own sister told me I wasn't allowed to see my mother, I laughed until I realized she meant it. I was standing on the front porch of the house we grew up in, holding a casserole dish that was still warm through the towel. The afternoon light was soft and golden, the kind of light that usually makes everything look kinder than it really is. But not that day. "Carla, what are you talking about?" I asked, shifting the dish in my hands. "Move over, girl. This thing is hot." She didn't move. Carla stood in the doorway, one hand braced on the frame, her body blocking the entry as neatly as a locked door. Her hair was pulled back in that rushed ponytail she did when she was stressed, but her eyes were sharp. Too sharp. "Mom is resting," she said, slow and clipped. "The doctor said she needs calm. No visitors today." I blinked at her, feeling my smile falter. "I'm not visitors. I'm her daughter." Carla's lips pressed into a line. She reached out, took the casserole from my hands like she was taking a package from the mailman, not a meal from her sister. "I know who you are, Denise," she said. "And I'm the one who lives here. The doctor talks to me." I said no visitors today. Something cold moved through my chest, right behind my ribs. "So she doesn't even know I'm here?" I asked. Carla hesitated. It was barely a second. But I'd known her my entire life. I saw it. "She's sleeping," she repeated. "I'll tell her you came." And just like that, she started closing the door. "Carla," the door clicked softly in my face. I stood there on the porch with my empty hands hanging by my sides, staring at the wood grain of the door like it was going to give me some kind of answer. My mother was 10 steps away from me. 10 steps and one locked door, guarded by my own sister. And for the first time, I had the smallest, quietest thought. Something isn't right. Before all of this, before doctors and pills and alarm systems on the back door, my life felt busy. But normal. I work as an administrative assistant at a small accounting firm downtown. Nothing glamorous. My days look like coffee stains on spreadsheets, the whir of the copier, and the sound of people tapping their pens when tax season makes them nervous. I get up at 6, pack my lunch, feed my cat, Milo, and listen to the news while I butter toast. Most mornings, I'd call Mom while I walked from the parking lot to the office. It became our routine when she first started forgetting little things: her keys, a pot on the stove, the word for remote. Just small slips at first. "Morning, sweetheart," she'd say, voice bright even through the static. "You on your way to the big city?" "The big city is 6 blocks downtown, Mom," I'd tease. "I can still see the grocery store from the office." "Well, that's big enough," she'd reply. "Don't forget to eat. And drink water. You forget when you're working." She wasn't wrong. Carla, my younger sister by 3 years, lived 20 minutes closer to Mom's house. She'd married young, divorced, less young, and then moved back into the neighborhood with her teenage son, Marcus. When Mom's forgetfulness turned into something with a name, early-stage dementia, it was Carla who said, "Don't worry, I've got this." She moved in with Mom. "I'm here anyway," she told me over the phone. I could hear dishes clinking in the background, the TV murmuring some afternoon show. My hours at the salon are flexible. I can keep an eye on her. No need for a home right now. We'll save that money. I remember the wave of relief that went through me. I offered to rotate weekends, split bills, come over more, but Carla waved it off. "Your job is full-time," she said. "You've got your own bills to worry about. Let me handle Mom. You just visit when you can and send money toward the medical stuff. That's what you're good at, paperwork and paying on time." She laughed like it was a joke. It wasn't a bad arrangement, on paper. I came by on Sundays with groceries and flowers. I took Mom to church when she felt up to it, to the park when the weather was nice. On holidays, we squeezed around her little kitchen table like we always had, the smell of fried chicken and cornbread settling into the walls. But slowly, almost without me noticing, Carla became the gatekeeper. At first, it was little things. "Can you come by after 3 instead?" she'd text. "Nurse is here earlier." Or, "Mom had a rough night, maybe don't stay too long today." Then it became, "Can you come next weekend instead? She's very tired." I told myself it made sense. I trusted Carla. She was there every day, while I was juggling work deadlines and bills and the guilt that I couldn't do more. Whenever I did visit, Carla would hover. If I tried to talk to Mom alone in the bedroom, she'd wander in with laundry or pretend to dust something that didn't need dusting. Do you want some tea? I'd ask Mom. Tea would be nice, Mom would say, eyes warm but a little clouded, like she was trying to look through fog. I'll make it, Carla would cut in. You just rest, Mom. If I tried to bring up finances, I could almost feel Carla's shoulders tense. How are the bills, Mom? I asked one afternoon, stirring sugar into my coffee at the kitchen table. Mom blinked, opening and closing her mouth like she'd lost the sentence halfway through. I handle the bills, Carla said quickly, sliding into the chair beside her, one hand resting on Mom's arm. It's all under control. Denise, you know how confusing paperwork gets for her now. I did know. I also knew that Mom had always been proud of paying her own bills. It was part of her independence, the thing she clung to after Dad died. Letting go of that wasn't something she would do lightly. You sure you don't need help? I pressed gently. I can take some of it, didn't I just say it's handled? Carla snapped, then pasted on a smile so fast it felt like a slap. I mean, I've got it. Really. You helping with the transfers to Mom's account every month is more than enough. I swallowed the knot in my throat. Okay, if you're sure. She changed the subject to Marcus's grades, then the neighbor's new dog, and just like that, the moment disappeared under layers of everyday conversation. Still, those small moments left a residue. A little unease. A feeling like I'd walked into a room that looked tidy, but if you opened the closet door, everything would fall out. The day on the porch, the day she closed the door in my face, that was the first time the residue felt like a stain. On my drive home, the radio played some old R&B song that used to make Mom hum along, tapping her fingers on the steering wheel. I turned it off. The silence felt heavier, but at least it was honest. I tried calling Carla that evening. She let it ring out. I texted, Denise, was that really necessary today? Denise, I just wanted to see Mom. Denise, call me. No response. I told myself she was tired. That caregiving was hard. That maybe I was being too sensitive. I've always been the one accused of feeling too much in this family. So I went back to work the next day. I answered emails. I filed reports. I smiled at coworkers. And in between typing numbers into spreadsheets, my mind kept drifting back to that closed door. It was 2 weeks later when the first real crack showed. It didn't come from some dramatic scene. No shouting, no ambulance, no late-night phone call. It came in the mail. A plain white envelope with the hospital's logo in blue ink at the top. Addressed to me. I opened it at the kitchen counter, still standing with my coat half on, keys hanging from my finger. I expected it to be some form about Mom's insurance, maybe a copy of a bill I'd already helped pay. Instead, I saw numbers that didn't make sense. A balance due that was higher than it should have been. And down near the bottom, in small, clinical print, previous payment reversal. Requested by authorized party. Authorized party. My eyes moved to the name beside that phrase. It wasn't mine. It wasn't Mom's. It was Carla's. A strange buzzing sound filled my ears, like someone had turned on a fluorescent light inside my skull. Why would Carla reverse a payment on Mom's medical bill? I set the paper down on the counter, smoothed it out with the flat of my hand, and felt something in me go very, very still. Because up until that moment, I had been telling myself that everything was fine. And now, in black and white, I was looking at the first proof that maybe it wasn't. I didn't sleep well that night. The hospital bill sat on my kitchen table like a quiet accusation, its edges curling slightly from how many times I'd picked it up, put it down, picked it up again. Even Milo seemed unsettled. He kept weaving around my leg, meowing like he sensed something was wrong. By morning, the numbers hadn't changed. Previous payment reversal. Authorized party, Carla Bennett. I read that line at least 20 times before I finally grabbed my keys and drove to Mom's clinic. The receptionist, a soft-spoken woman named Leah, recognized me immediately. Oh, Denise. Your mom's doing okay, she said. Your sister brought her in last week for a checkup. My sister? I asked. Did she request any changes to billing? Leah looked up from her computer, cautious. Changes? I swallowed, my voice lower than I intended. Payment reversal. The bill came to my address. Her brows pulled together as she clicked through the screen. Let me check. I stood there with my hands folded so tightly my knuckles ached. The printer behind us whirred, phones rang softly in the distance, and someone coughed in the waiting room. Normal sounds. Everyday sounds. But I felt like I was underwater. Finally, Leah turned back to me. It shows your sister called, she said slowly. Asked to pause some services until finances stabilized. Pause. What services? Occupational therapy, prescription refill delivery, housekeeping assistance. I blinked. Those are all things Mom needs. Why would she pause them? Leah gave me a sympathetic look, the kind people give when they don't want to interfere but know something isn't right. You'd have to ask your sister, she said quietly. I walked out of that clinic feeling like my bones were vibrating. That evening, I drove to Mom's house. And this time, I didn't text ahead. I parked across the street, gripping the steering wheel as I watched the house. Porch light off. Curtains drawn. One bedroom window glowing faintly, the room Mom slept in. She was awake. My chest tightened. I crossed the street and walked straight up the porch steps. The boards creaked exactly like they always had, the sound pulling up memories of being 12 years old, sneaking home late from a friend's house. I knocked. Not hard. Not soft. Just steady. Carla opened the door an inch. An inch. Denise, she said, fake surprise coating her voice. What are you doing here? Move, I said. She blinked. What? I said move. I'm coming in. Her jaw tightened. Mom's asleep. Then she won't mind me checking on her. I said, Carla. I took a step forward. I haven't seen our mother in 3 weeks. Step aside. Something flickered in her eyes, anger, maybe fear, and for a long moment, neither of us moved. Finally, with a sigh that was too dramatic to be real, she stepped back. Fine. But don't wake her. The house felt different. Dimmer. Colder. I walked down the hall, my heart hammering. When I reached Mom's door, I pushed it open softly. She wasn't asleep. She was sitting upright in bed, staring at the off-white wall with a blankness that tore right through me. Mom? I whispered. Her head turned slowly. Her eyes softened. Recognition flickered, faint but real. Denise, she breathed. Oh, baby. I went to her, sat on the edge of the bed, took her hands. They felt colder than I remembered. You look tired, I said gently. How are you feeling? Before she could answer, Carla appeared behind me, arms crossed. She was fine until you showed up unannounced. I ignored her. Mom, are you okay? Are you eating? Is everything being handled? Mom opened her mouth, but Carla's voice cut in sharply. She's fine. You're overwhelming her. But Mom's hand squeezed mine. And in a fragile, trembling whisper, she said, I've been lonely. The words hit me like a punch. Lonely. When Carla lived here. When I wasn't allowed to visit. I felt Carla stiffen behind me. She doesn't mean she said what she said. I snapped over my shoulder. Mom looked at my face, then at Carla's. Her eyes started nervously between us, like someone who'd been taught not to upset the person standing in the doorway. I swallowed hard. Mom, has something been going on here? I asked softly. Anything you want to tell me? Carla's hand landed on my shoulder. Firm. Controlling. That's enough, she hissed. You're making things worse. I stood up slowly, turning to face her. I got the medical bill, I said. Her face drained of color. You reversed Mom's payment, I continued. You paused her therapy. You cut off services. You said finances needed stabilizing. Why, Carla? Carla's throat bobbed. Don't do this in front of her, she whispered. Please. Then tell me the truth. She covered her face with her hands. For a moment, I thought she might cry. But instead, her voice came out tight, almost defensive. I needed some of the money, okay? Just a little. My stomach dropped. What money? Carla's eyes flashed. The caregiver's stipend, she muttered. The account you transfer into for Mom's bills. I borrowed from it. Borrowed? I repeated, voice cracking. Carla, that money is for Mom. I know, she shot back, but I was drowning, Denise. Marcus's school fees, the car repairs, everything piling up, and you don't understand because you don't live here. You're not the one taking care of her. Every day. I deserved a little help too. Not at Mom's expense. My voice came out sharper than I intended, and Mom flinched. Carla pointed at me, trembling with frustration. You think you're the hero because you send money every month? You think that makes you the caring daughter? I'm the one who sacrifices everything. Sacrifice, I whispered. Or control. The word hung in the air like a blade. Carla froze. And for the first time, she didn't have an answer. On my way out, I kissed Mom's forehead and promised I'd be back the next day. Carla didn't walk me to the door. She didn't say goodbye. She just stood in the hallway, arms wrapped around herself, breathing hard. But as I stepped onto the porch, she whispered after me, "You have no idea what she tells me when you're not here." I turned. What do you mean? She gave a small, bitter smile. You'll see. One day. I didn't know it then, but that night was only the edge of the truth. The real betrayal, the one that would shatter everything, was still waiting for me. Waiting at the nursing station. Waiting in a notebook. Waiting in a nurse's quiet confession that would break my heart and change everything I thought I knew about my sister. I didn't even make it home that night. I sat in my car in the driveway for almost an hour, staring at the steering wheel, letting the silence settle over me like dust. Mom's voice, "I've been lonely," kept echoing in my chest. Lonely in a house with another adult living there. Lonely while her daughter took her mail. Lonely while her phone was always charging. Lonely while therapy sessions were canceled without her consent. When the tears came, they came quietly. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just slow, steady grief running down my face like warm rain. I thought about driving back. I thought about screaming at Carla. I thought about dragging Mom out of that house myself. But anger, real anger, doesn't shout. It simmers. It waits. And that night, it sat in my chest like a stone. The next morning, I was at Mom's clinic the minute the automatic doors slid open. I didn't ask for Leah. I asked for the nurse who had been treating Mom the most. That was Rachel, the one with the kind eyes and the tired smile. She'd been working at the clinic for almost 15 years. She recognized me instantly. "Denise," she said gently, like she already knew why I was here. "Come with me." She led me to a small break room. There was a half-finished cup of coffee on the table and a chair with a cushion flattened from years of use. Rachel closed the door behind us. "What's going on?" I asked. She took a breath, folded her hands, and then looked up at me with a conflicted expression. I wasn't sure if I should say anything, she began softly. "But your mom, she's been talking." The room spun. "Talking? What do you mean?" I whispered. Rachel hesitated. "She's been upset. A lot. And she's confused sometimes. That's normal at her age, with everything going on. But lately what? She's been saying things that don't line up with what your sister reported." A knot twisted in my stomach. "Like what?" Rachel rubbed her forehead, clearly struggling with the weight of breaking confidentiality, with the fear of stepping into family conflict. "She says she doesn't get her medicine on schedule." My lips parted. "She says she barely goes outside anymore." My mind buzzed. "She says she feels like she's being kept." The word struck me like lightning. Kept. I felt my throat closing. "Rachel, are you saying my mother feels trapped?" Rachel looked down. That was answer enough. I felt my breath shaking. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" Rachel's eyes glistened. "Because your sister always insisted she was managing things. She said you lived far, that you were busy, that Mom didn't want to worry you." A hot stab of guilt pierced me. I let that be enough. I let the distance grow. Rachel watched my face carefully before continuing. "And there's something else," she said quietly. "Your mother gets very anxious when we mention you." "Me?" "Yes." She told me she's scared you'll be angry with her. "Angry? For what?" Rachel sighed. "She said your sister told her you were upset because she refused to sign something important." "Sign what?" "She didn't know. Or maybe she forgot," Rachel whispered. "But she keeps apologizing for disappointing you." Those words burned. Disappointing you. My mother, the woman who never let me walk to the store alone without a coat, who would tuck notes into my lunchbox, who once stayed awake for 2 nights to help me finish a school project, apologizing for disappointing me because of something my sister told her. I felt sick. What else? I managed. Rachel hesitated, then stood and went to a drawer. She took out a slim binder, Mom's therapy notes. "I'm not supposed to show this," she murmured, "but I think you need to see it." She flipped to the most recent entries. In small, shaky handwriting, Carla says Denise is too busy for me. Carla says I shouldn't bother her. Carla says Denise gets tired when she visits. I don't want to be a burden. A burden. A burden. A burden. The word blurred as tears filled my eyes. "Oh God," I whispered. Mom thought I didn't want to visit her. Rachel closed the binder. "Denise, your sister loves your mother. I believe that. But I also believe she's overwhelmed. Burnout. Fearful. And maybe she made choices that weren't fair to either of you." I let out a trembling breath. She used my love as a weapon. Rachel's silence was confirmation. "And the money?" I asked. Rachel nearly winced. "Your mom mentioned that, too. She said she sometimes asks for small things like new slippers or her favorite tea, and Carla tells her you said no." I closed my eyes. That broke me a little. Because I would have bought her 100 pairs of slippers, 1,000 boxes of tea, anything she wanted. Anything. Rachel reached across the table and touched my hand gently. "You need to talk to your mom directly," she said. "Without your sister around. She might tell you more." I nodded, wiping my eyes. But then Rachel added, "And Denise, you should prepare yourself. There may be things your mother was too afraid to say." Driving home, the world felt too bright. The sun was glaring. Cars seemed louder. Every turn felt sharper. My hands were ice cold on the steering wheel. Because the truth wasn't just a suspicion anymore. It was here. It was breathing. It was unfolding in front of me. And I had a terrible feeling that the missing money, the canceled therapy, the isolation, the guilt, were just the outer layers. There was something deeper, something darker, something my sister had been hiding for years. That night, I couldn't sit still. I paced my living room. I reread Mom's notes. I replayed Carla's words, "You have no idea what she tells me when you're not here." And then I remembered something. Something small. Something that didn't matter at the time. 3 years ago, Mom was hospitalized briefly for a fall. At discharge, she mentioned a notebook, her memory book. A place where she wrote things she didn't want to forget. I hadn't seen it since. What if that notebook still existed? And what if it held the truth? A truth Carla never wanted me to see. The next morning, I returned to Mom's house. This time, I wasn't knocking. I was ready. Ready for answers. Ready for confrontation. Ready for whatever truth my sister had buried. Because I wasn't leaving without Mom's voice, her real voice, finally being heard. I stood on my mother's porch again the next morning, my heart in my throat. This time, I didn't ring the bell. I used the key Mom had given me years ago, the one I always kept tucked inside a small fabric pouch in my purse. A key that still smelled faintly of her lavender lotion. The door opened with a soft click. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Not the quiet of peace, the quiet of tension. A house that held whispers. Instead of laughter. I stepped in slowly. "Mom?" No answer. "Carla?" Silence. I walked deeper into the living room. The recliner where Mom spent her afternoons was empty. The blanket folded neatly over the back wasn't the one I remembered. Carla's style, sharp corners, cold colors, had replaced Mom's soft pastels. It felt like a stranger's living room wearing my mother's furniture. I moved down the hallway, my footsteps soft against the carpet. Mom's door was closed. Carla's door cracked open. Then I saw something that made my breath catch. A laundry basket sat beside the hallway table. Inside it was a familiar pattern, blue flowers, faded from years of washing. My mother's memory book. I knew it instantly. The fabric cover was unmistakable. Mom had sewn it herself years ago, tiny uneven stitches zigzagging along the spine. My hands trembled as I picked it up. This wasn't hidden behind a lock. This wasn't stuffed in a drawer. It was thrown in a laundry basket like trash. I pressed the book to my chest. And for a moment, I just stood there, breathing her in. breathing in everything she'd written, even if I didn't know the words yet. Then I opened it. The first pages were ordinary. Dates, doctor reminders, grocery lists, names of old friends, recipes she wanted to try. Then the handwriting began to change. Shakier. Smaller. Words pressed harder into the paper, like her emotions were fighting to exist. I wanted to see Denise today. Carla said she is busy. Carla says I talk too much and get confused. I asked for new socks. Carla said Denise said no. I think Denise is disappointed in me. I don't want to be a problem. My throat tightened. I turned the page. I think I heard Denise's voice on the phone. Carla said it wasn't her. Carla told me not to mention certain things. I forget what, but she said Denise will be upset. I miss my daughter. I had to sit down. The couch creaked beneath me as I lowered myself, staring at the words blurring on the page. Mom didn't forget me. Mom didn't push me away. Mom wasn't too tired for visits. My sister fed her lies. Lies that kept her scared. Lies that kept her dependent. Lies that made her feel small. I kept reading. I asked about my bank card. Carla said she is helping me. She says money is tight. I hope Denise understands. I don't want to complain. I don't want her mad. Mad? I had never raised my voice at my mother in my adult life. Yet she was apologizing to a notebook for things she didn't even do. Then I reached the page that made my breath freeze completely. A page where the words were shaky, frantic, running over each other. Carla says I signed something. I don't remember. Did I forget? Am I losing everything? I feel confused. I don't know what's happening. Please God help me. Underneath those lines, written almost illegibly, I wish Denise were here. That's when the tears finally slipped down my cheeks. Not loud, not messy, just quiet grief for a woman who had spent decades protecting her daughters and now had no one protecting her. The front door opened suddenly. My chest tensed. Carla stepped in, balancing grocery bags, humming something under her breath. When she looked up and saw me sitting on the couch, her face froze. What are you doing here? She demanded, her voice sharp, a tone I had never heard her use on me before. I held up the notebook. Her eyes widened for a fraction of a second, then hardened. You had no right to go through that, she snapped. No, I replied softly. Mom had every right to be heard. She set the bags down hard, a can rolling out and clinking across the hardwood floor. You don't understand anything, Denise, she said, folding her arms. I'm the one who's been here, not you. I closed the notebook gently. And I'm grateful you've cared for her, I said truthfully. But this, I lifted the notebook slightly. This isn't care. This is control. Her jaw tightened. You think you can just show up and judge me? After years of doing nothing, she hissed. I swallowed. I didn't do nothing. I trusted you. She scoffed. Exactly. And now suddenly you want to swoop in and play hero? Too late. I stood up slowly. Where's Mom? She's resting, Carla said quickly. Alone. Of course alone. She rolled her eyes. She doesn't need stimulation right now. The doctor said, no doctor said she can't see her own daughter, I cut in. Carla looked away. That alone told me enough. I took a breath. I'm going in to see her. No, she snapped, stepping in front of me. We stood there, two grown women, two daughters of the same mother, blocking each other like strangers. And I realized something. This wasn't just about care. This was about power. Carla wasn't protecting Mom. Carla was protecting her position, her access, her control, her decisions, and maybe her fear of being found out. Move, I said quietly. She stayed frozen. Then, in the smallest voice, one that surprised me with its vulnerability, she whispered, if you take Mom from me, I have nothing left. It was the most honest thing she'd said. And suddenly, I understood. Not everything. Not the money. Not the paperwork. Not the manipulation. But this part, the fear underneath, the loneliness inside her. I understood that. Carla, I said gently, this isn't about taking Mom from you. It's about doing what's right for her. Her face crumpled for a moment, then she lifted her chin and stepped aside. But the damage had already been done. And the truth was sitting on the coffee table. waiting for both of us. I walked toward Mom's room, hand on the doorknob, heart pounding, because behind that door wasn't just my mother. Behind that door was the truth my sister had spent years building walls around. And I was finally ready to hear it. I pushed open the door slowly, letting the soft creak announce me instead of my voice. The room smelled like lavender and old sweaters Mom sent. But there was something else too, a faint bitterness. Like disinfectant left too long on a surface. Mom lay curled on her side, her gray hair spread across the pillow like soft cotton threads. The afternoon light filtered through the curtains, painting her face in warm gold. She looked so small. So very small. My throat tightened. "Mom?" I whispered. Her eyes fluttered open, blinking against the light. For a second there was confusion, the same confusion I'd become used to hearing about in Carla's weekly updates. But then her gaze settled, softened, then lit up. "Denise," she breathed, her voice barely a thread. I moved closer, sitting beside her on the bed. She took my hand with trembling fingers, cold and fragile. "Oh baby," she whispered, "you're here." She said it like she'd been holding it inside for a very long time. I stroked her hand gently. "Of course I'm here, Mama." She exhaled, and something in her shoulders loosened, like she'd been holding tension for months. "Carla said," she began, but her voice trembled off. "It's okay," I murmured. "I'm here now." Silence wrapped around us, thick and delicate, like we were sitting inside a memory. Then her voice lowered. "I didn't think you wanted to come." My heart broke. "What?" "Mama, why would you think that?" She looked down at her hands. "Carla told me you were busy. Told me you didn't like how I looked now. Told me you were disappointed." Her voice cracked on the last word. And something inside me snapped. Not with anger. With grief. All those months, the cold distance, the short calls, the rushed visits that never happened, weren't her fault. Someone had rewritten her reality. I blinked back tears. "Mom, I have never been disappointed in you." She nodded slowly, as if trying to believe it, her eyes filling with tears of her own. "I wanted to hear your voice," she said softly. "But every time I asked for the phone, Carla said it was dead or missing or that you didn't answer." I inhaled sharply. This wasn't misunderstanding. This wasn't confusion. This was intentional. I held her hand tighter. "I'm here, and nothing will come between us again." Her lips trembled into a tiny, fragile smile. But then her eyes drifted toward the nightstand, where a thick envelope peeked from underneath a book. I followed her gaze. "What's that?" I asked. She didn't speak at first. Her fingers moved slowly, tapping the edge of the blanket. Then she whispered, "Carla said it's for you, but only after I'm gone." My breath froze. I reached for the envelope. It was heavy, thick, bulging with papers folded, crumpled, some stained with tears. Mom closed her eyes like the weight of those pages was too much to witness. I opened it. Inside were documents, bank statements, insurance letters, medical bills, all with red flags. Missing payments. Withdrawals Mom could never have made. Signatures that looked shaky and forced. Notes written in Mom's handwriting saying she didn't understand what she'd signed. But the paper that shook me the most was a single sheet inside a protective plastic sleeve. Mom's power of attorney. Her signature. Dated 3 years earlier, right around the time her memory began to slip. I looked at her. "Mama, did you sign this?" She shook her head weakly. "I don't remember." "I really don't." Carla said I did. She said you didn't want to take care of things, that she was the responsible one. My chest burned. I squeezed her hand gently. "Mom, listen to me. You never asked to be a burden. You never were." Her eyes glistened, full of a kind of sorrow I had never seen in her. I thought, maybe I forgot things. Maybe I shouldn't question. My voice cracked. "No, Mama. You should have never been afraid to ask." She reached up with a trembling hand and touched my cheek like she did when I was little. "You're here now," she whispered. "That's enough for me." But it wasn't enough for me. Not anymore. I stepped back into the living room, the envelope clutched in my hand. Carla was standing by the counter, her back turned, wiping her face aggressively like she had been crying or preparing to look like she hadn't. She turned sharply when she heard me. I held up the envelope. "This ends today, Carla." Her eyes narrowed. "You don't understand what you're holding." "I understand perfectly." "No," she snapped, stepping closer, defensive desperation rising in her voice. "You think you know everything because of a few papers? Because of a diary?" She pointed toward Mom's room. "You don't know what it's like to take care of someone every single day. To give up your life, your job, your time." My jaw tightened. "That was your choice. I never asked you to give up anything." She laughed bitterly. "You didn't have to ask. You were always the successful one. The independent one. The daughter who left. I was the one who stayed." Her voice cracked. "Someone had to." I softened for a moment. "Carla, Mom never asked you to carry everything alone." Her eyes glistened with anger and pain. "She didn't have to ask. I was the only one here. And instead of asking for help, I said quietly, you punished her. You isolated her. You made her believe she was a burden." She looked away, her shoulders trembling. "Do you think I wanted it to get this bad?" she whispered. "Do you think I planned any of this?" "Maybe not," I said softly. "But you let it happen. And now we have to fix it." Her chin dropped toward her chest. "What happens now?" she asked, barely audible. "We do what's right for Mom," I said. She didn't fight. She didn't argue. She just nodded. A small, defeated motion. And for the first time since this began, I saw the truth. My sister wasn't a monster. Just someone drowning. Someone who had lost her way while trying to carry too much. But that didn't erase the damage. And it didn't change what had to happen next. I took a breath, a deep, steadying one. Because the next steps wouldn't be easy. But they would be necessary. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at Mom's small kitchen table. A mug of cold tea untouched in front of me, the envelope of documents spread out like pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to solve. Every page, every signature, every desperate scribbled note. It all told a story, not of cruelty, but of a slow unraveling. A daughter who loved too much and asked for too little. A woman who took on a burden alone until it consumed her, and then began consuming the person she promised to protect. But even a tragedy has consequences. And by morning, the consequences had begun. The knock at the door came at 8:02 a.m. sharp. I inhaled deeply and opened it. Nurse Allen, the soft-spoken woman from the hospice rotation, stood there with her clipboard tucked under her arm. Her eyes moved from me to Carla, who was curled up on the edge of the couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "Good morning," the nurse said gently. "I got a message requesting a care review." "That was me," I said. Carla didn't look up. We stepped into Mom's room together, where she lay awake, her eyes bright but tired. She seemed calmer than yesterday, maybe because she knew she wasn't alone anymore. "Hello, sweetheart," Nurse Allen said warmly, brushing her hand gently across Mom's arm. "How are you feeling today?" Mom's smile was faint. "Better now." The nurse turned to me. "Is there something specific you wanted to go over?" I handed her the envelope, open, organized, finally in the right hands. Her face softened as she flipped through the papers. "I see," she murmured, not in judgment, but in understanding. She closed the envelope gently. "Mrs. Thompson, would you like your daughters both present for future care meetings?" Mom nodded once. "Yes, but Denise should lead." Carla flinched. "I'm not taking your place," I whispered to her. "We're doing this together." But she kept her face turned away, jaw tight. The nurse cleared her throat. "There's something else. Mrs. Thompson, you mentioned last week that you wanted to speak with a social worker, but you weren't allowed to. Would you like me to arrange that?" Mom nodded again. And in that moment, things shifted. Control moved from silence to accountability. From one daughter's strained grip to shared, steady hands. The social worker arrived 2 hours later, a tall woman with calm eyes and firm posture, carrying the kind of authority that fills a room without raising its voice. Her name was Ms. Rivera. She asked Carla and me to sit at the table with her. Carla looked like she wanted to melt into the chair. Ms. Rivera folded her hands. "I'm here to understand the situation fully. No blame, no assumptions, just truth. And then we move forward." She turned to me first. "When did you first realize something was wrong?" I told her everything, the phone calls that didn't reach Mom, the not today excuses, the missing medical payments, the forged signatures. She listened carefully, occasionally taking a slow note. Then she turned to Carla. Would you like to explain your perspective? Carla wiped her face, staring down at her hands. When she finally spoke, her voice was cracked and hollow. I didn't mean to hurt her, she whispered. I swear I didn't. I got tired. Her shoulders began shaking. I was doing everything. Every day. The bathing. The feeding. The medications. The bills. The yelling when she forgot who I was. The crying when she remembered. And I kept waiting for Denise to show up, or visit, or even just call long enough to hear me say, I can't do this alone. Tears dripped onto the table. But I couldn't say it. I couldn't admit it. Because if I did, it felt like I was failing her. Ms. Rivera didn't interrupt. She let her speak. Carla swallowed hard. So I controlled things. I pushed people away. I told myself it was temporary. That I just needed one more week, one more month, one more day to get myself together. Her voice trembled. But the days never got easier. And the money? The social worker asked gently. Carla shook her head rapidly, panicked. I didn't steal it. I didn't. I used it for her medication when the insurance didn't cover enough. I used it to repair the leaky roof because the draft made her cough more. I used it for the home aid that lasted all of a week before she quit. I wasn't trying to hide it. I just didn't want Denise to think I couldn't handle it. I felt myself soften. Not enough to excuse what happened, but enough to understand. What about the isolation? I asked quietly. Why lie to Mom about me? Carla covered her face with her hands. Because every time she asked for you, I felt smaller. I felt useless. I felt like I wasn't enough. Ms. Rivera leaned forward. Caregiving can break people who love deeply. But hiding help, hiding family, only causes more harm. This isn't about guilt. It's about moving forward safely. She laid out a plan. A rotation schedule. A financial audit. A care worker 3 times a week. Joint power of attorney reviewed legally. Weekly family updates. Mental health support for both daughters. And full transparency going forward. Carla nodded through tears. I nodded too. Not out of forgiveness yet, but out of commitment. Mom deserved better than our guilt. She deserved peace. By evening, word had already reached our Aunt Laverne. You'd think the woman had a police scanner the way she heard things. She showed up at the door with a casserole and judgment radiating off her like heat from a skillet. Lord have mercy, she muttered, stepping inside. I leave y'all alone for 5 minutes and chaos breaks out like fireworks. She hugged me first, long and warm. Then she turned to Carla with a stare that could melt stone. Baby, she sighed, why didn't you tell someone you were drowning? Carla burst into tears, collapsing into our aunt's arms. And in that moment, messy, loud, painful, I saw something real. This family wasn't broken. It was wounded. And wounds can heal, but only when the truth comes out into the light. For the first time in months, Mom's house felt quiet in a peaceful way, not the suffocating silence I had grown used to. After Aunt Laverne left and Carla finished crying herself empty, the air settled like dust after a long storm. The damage was still there, the cracks still sharp, but at least now, we could see them clearly. And clarity, I learned, is the first step toward healing. The next morning, the sunlight slipped gently through the living room blinds, warm and forgiving. I walked into Mom's room expecting to find her half asleep, but she was wide awake, hands folded neatly on her lap. Good morning, Mama, I said softly. She stared at me for a long moment, and then something flickered across her face. Recognition. Relief. A softness I hadn't seen in years. You came back, she whispered. That one sentence broke me in ways I didn't expect. I sat beside her, taking her thin hand carefully into mine. I never wanted to stay away. I didn't know you needed me like this. Her eyes grew glassy, wandering toward the doorway as if she could see years passing by in her mind. Your sister tried to do everything, she said slowly. But nobody can hold the world alone. I nodded, tears burning behind my eyes. We'll hold it together now, I told her. You don't have to worry anymore." She squeezed my fingers, weakly, but with meaning. It was the closest thing to closure I'd felt in a long time. Later, I found Carla in the kitchen, washing dishes she'd already washed earlier. It was her way of avoiding eye contact when she felt too ashamed to talk. "Coffee?" I asked gently. She nodded without looking up. We stood together in quiet for a long minute before she finally whispered, "I don't expect you to forgive me." I leaned against the counter. "I'm not ready yet," I said honestly. "But I don't hate you. And I don't blame you alone." She swallowed hard. "I could have called. I could have asked for a break. I could have told you when things got harder." "You could have," I said. "But I also could have checked in more. I could have pushed harder when you said Mom was doing fine." She let out a sharp breath, half laugh, half sob. "It's embarrassing," she murmured. "I've been the strong one my whole life. The planner. The fixer. The one everyone depends on. And suddenly I was drowning. And instead of reaching out, I just tried harder to pretend." I touched her shoulder gently. "There's nothing embarrassing about being overwhelmed," I said. "What matters is what we do next." Carla finally met my eyes, tears clinging to her lashes. "Then can we start over?" I nodded. "Side by side this time." She nodded back, her shoulders loosening a little, the first sign of relief I'd seen in her. By noon, the social worker returned for a follow-up meeting. She reviewed our family plan with a calm professionalism that made everything feel manageable. A care aide would come Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Carla and I would alternate major responsibilities weekly. Medications would be pre-sorted, monitored, documented. Finances would be handled transparently through a shared account. And Mom's mental well-being would be evaluated monthly. "Caregiving," Ms. Rivera said, fitting her glasses back on, "isn't meant to break families. When done right, it brings people together." She looked firmly at both of us. "But only if everyone stops pretending they're fine." Carla and I both nodded like schoolchildren who finally learned a hard lesson. In the following days, a softness returned to the house. The atmosphere shifted from tension to teamwork. Carla started taking short walks in the morning, something she hadn't done in 2 years. I handled the phone calls, bills, and insurance appointments, tasks she'd once shouldered alone. And every night, we sat together with Mom in her room, talking quietly as if trying to make up for lost time. One evening, while folding a fresh set of sheets, Carla said something that stayed with me. "You know, every time Mom asked for you, I thought it meant I wasn't enough for her. But now I realize she was just missing her child. And I made that into my insecurity." I put the sheet down, stepping close to her. "She wasn't choosing one of us," I said. "She was longing for both." Carla nodded, smiling sadly. "I made it about competition. It was never that. Healing is rarely loud. Most of the time, it sounds like realization whispered into a quiet room." A week later, something unexpected happened. Mom asked us to sit on either side of her bed. Her voice was weak but steady. "I want to apologize," she said. "If I ever made either of you feel like you weren't enough." Carla's breath hitched. I felt my throat tighten. "You both care for me in different ways," Mom continued. "And if I could have told you how scared I was, how lonely I felt, maybe none of this would have happened." She closed her eyes for a moment. "But we're here now, and I feel safe." I didn't realize I was crying until Carla reached over with a tissue, her hand brushing mine. "I'm sorry too," Carla whispered, voice trembling. "So am I said softly. Mom smiled, a small, peaceful curve of her lips. It wasn't forgiveness we received that day, it was something better. Understanding. The weeks turned into a calmer rhythm. Some days were harder. Mom had moments of confusion, emotional swings, or exhaustion. But now, Carla and I faced them together. And with every shared task, every quiet conversation, every moment of mutual support, the years of distance between us began to shrink. One afternoon, while adjusting Mom's blanket, Carla looked at me and said, "Maybe we both needed this, to learn how to stop pretending we're the strong ones all the time." I smiled gently at her. "Maybe being strong isn't about doing everything alone," I replied. "Maybe it's about showing up even when it hurts." She nodded slowly. And in that small, warm room, A sisterhood began to rebuild itself. Not perfect, not sudden, but real. And real things take time. If there's one thing this whole journey taught me, it's this: family doesn't fall apart in one big moment. It slips slowly through the cracks we pretend not to see. My sister wasn't the villain I once painted her to be, and I wasn't the helpless outsider I believed I was. We were just two daughters trying to hold on to the same mother, one drowning silently, the other standing too far away to notice. I used to think love meant being strong. Now I know it means being honest. Honest about needing help. Honest about being overwhelmed. Honest about how much someone means to you before you lose the chance to say it. My mother may not remember everything now, but she remembers that her girls are beside her. And sometimes that's enough. So let me ask you this, baby. Have you ever misjudged someone you loved, only to realize later they were fighting a battle you couldn't see? And if so, did it bring you closer, or did it leave a scar you're still learning how to heal? Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched your heart or made you think about your own family a little differently, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to hear more stories, real life, heartfelt, and full of lessons we learn the hard way, go on and subscribe for more. I'll be right here, telling you the truth the way only family can. Auntie Diaries.